All right, let's talk about recording guitar, miking up an amp, getting a good natural sound, full of dynamics, full of, across the spectrum tonally, that fits well in a mix, will do the job, and will be versatile enough to let you play anything through it, use pedals, and just get a good, real, natural sound. I have certain philosophies that work for me. I don't know if they'll work for you, but I can at least share and tell you what's going on. So let's talk a little bit about how I record guitar, what equipment I use, and why. All right, when it comes to recording guitar, my philosophy is to get the maximum amount of dynamics and just information to tape. So that means I'm going to put the mics in a place on the speaker that gets maximum information. So for me, that's dead center. I place a Shure Unidyne III, which is a precursor to the venerable 57, dead center in the middle of the cone, as seen in this picture. And then right next to that, I put a Mesanovich Ribbon Mic called a Model 2, which I really love. It's my favorite ribbon mic at the moment. I've been using it for quite a while, and in fact, any recording you've heard of me playing guitar in the last 3 years, this has been the formula pretty much. So from there, we mic up the amp, and then also in the room, I have a Mesanovich stereo mic. It's a stereo version of that same mic, and it's always in the same spot in my room. So when I'm recording guitar by myself, I'll record it, and then of course when the band's recording, it's the room mic. From there, it comes either into my console through 4 channels of the desk, which is a Trident Series 70 with no EQ. All I do is check phase. Or lately, I've been using these Cranbourne Audio 500 series pre's in their 500 series rack, which are amazing, and I'm going to do a video about them and some of their tech and really cool stuff that they're making, because I'm totally blown away by their gear. But anyways, we get into the pre's and then straight into Pro Tools. So we come out of the pre's into the 192 Pro Tools converters, and then bam, we're up into the computer, into Pro Tools. That's the rig. It's really simple. And of course, the amp is the Morgan JS12 that's being mic'd up with those 2 mics and the 2 room mics. So we've got 4 channels of guitar, and I'm going to show you what they all sound like, how they blend together, how I like to pan things, and kind of the whole formula. So let's get into it. All right, let's start with the Shure Unidyne III, the 57 style mic. It's dead center in the middle of the speaker because I want the maximum amount of information. I'd rather have it there and take it away than try to manufacture it later, bring something back. So that means maximum top, maximum bottom, all of the tonal information. So here's what it sounds like, dead center panned in the stereo field. Only thing you're hearing, the Shure Unidyne. I'll run through all 3 pickups. So you can hear the 57 style mic has this, the punch, the mid-range. There's a reason it's been the go-to mic for decades for guitar, and especially the Shure Unidyne. I mean, this is the mic you would see on cabinets when Cream's recording, or Hendrix, along with sometimes Ribbons, Beyer 160s and other things. But, so many of the recordings we've grown up hearing and listening and loving was that microphone on a guitar amp. And it's hard to beat, quite honestly. So that's what the Shure Unidyne sounds like. It's a special mic. And if I put on a little gain, in this case the Chula, it gives you that thump, you know. Yeah, so that's what the Shure Unidyne III 57 style mic sounds like. All right, now let's talk about the Mesanovich Ribbon. Now, everybody loves to pair ribbon with a dynamic, which is what the Shure is, to give you that silky, smooth, rubbery, warm blanket. A lot of people use Royers, I do too, and I like the Mesanovich right now as my favorite ribbon style mic on guitar. I prefer the Mesanovich because it has a nice clear top to go with all that buttery smoothness, you know. So here's the Mesanovich by itself, also dead center pan, just so you can hear what just this mic sounds like, and I'll do the same kind of all three pickup exercises. Yeah, pretty great, right? So that's what the ribbon sounds like by itself. Now let's start getting into mixing things together. All right, now let's hear both mics still panned up the center because we're going to talk about phase. Now, phase is the difference in when the actual sound source, the sound from the speaker, hits the microphone in time. So each ribbon or dynamic, whatever the element is, reacts differently and takes in the sound at a different time. And also it depends on physically where the mic is located. So the ribbon, you know, will be like this and the dynamic will be like this. And you have to line up the elements so they're perfectly in phase. And some things are just not in phase. And you can hear when things are out of phase, they kind of cancel each other out because you've got waveforms crossing. And yeah, that's literally what they do. They cancel each other out. So I'm going to flip phase on the ribbon. Right now they're in phase. I'm going to flip it so you can hear what it sounds like when one's out of phase. So here's in phase. And here's out of phase. So you can hear it's like it cancels itself out. You lose a ton of low end. So you always have to check your phase and get it right. All right, now let's pan each mic hard left and hard right. So you can hear the Shure Unidyne dynamic on the left and the ribbon on the right, and hear the differences together. It's less blended because they're not in the same space in the spatial field. All right. Yeah, pretty cool, right? All right, now let's hear the room mic by itself. So the room mic obviously going to sound very distant. You have to crank up the preamps to get more gain to it, but it gives you that, you know, feeling of being in the room and what the amp sounds like naturally, kind of at ear level. So that's what this sounds like. It's a great sound, and we've all heard those records where they're really laying hard on the room mic on the guitar. It's a really useful thing to have in the mix. All right, now let's put it all together in the way that I like to hear it. which is Shure Unidyne, almost straight up the middle, but just to the left, louder than the Ribbon, Ribbon more to the right, and lower in volume than the Unidyne, and then room mics to taste. And you kind of get what I think sounds like my sound. So here's straight in. And here's with the Chula, and here's where I think it starts sounding like my guitar tone. Yeah, I kind of feel like that's my formula. And that gives me the freedom to, if I turn on a fuzz, if I turn on Leslie, if I'm playing a Strat or a Les Paul and Tube Screamer or whatever, when I mic things in this way, I have unlimited flexibility. So as I start to stack parts, maybe the second part, I won't use the Ribbon. I'll just use the 57. Maybe the third part, I'll only use the rooms, and this gives me a way to kind of be very, very versatile and dynamic, but also kind of simple. And just natural sounding. It's what works for me, and certainly I change it up sometimes. Sometimes I have multiple amps, but this is my main formula for miking up and getting a good sound. So hopefully that helps you understand. Again, that's no EQ, no processing of any kind, just mic, preamp, right into the computer. That's all you're hearing. So, and if you like the amp, you should check out the Morgan JS12 because it's a ruler. All right, everybody. Hope this helped, and if you're not a member, you should think about becoming a ruler now and joining up, becoming part of the club. And please at least subscribe to the channel because it'll keep my enthusiasm level up and I'll keep doing these videos. Thanks, everybody. Ruling.